Jujutsu Kaisen's timeline is insane. There's over 1,000 years of history and most of it remains poorly explained. So today we're going over the entire Jujutsu Kaisen timeline in chronological order, starting with the Nara period. This is when Master Tengen first rose to prominence by preaching the importance of Buddhism for those practicing Jujutsu. This established the moral foundation for Jujutsu sorcerers for the next 1,000 years to come, but not all agreed to her teachings, as the religion of Buddhism did not see eye to eye with her. As a result, the Star Religious Group was formed to preach to non-sorcerers and influence them without the interference of Jujutsu society. A few hundred years pass and soon dawns the Heian era. This is probably the most influential era to the story of Jujutsu Kaisen, yet despite this, we don't know a ton about it. It is said to be the golden age of Jujutsu, as many strong sorcerers were originally born in this era, including our three main antagonists Kenjaku, Uraume, and Sukuna. Sukuna would fight as a sorcerer and earn the title of the King of Curses and Poison, becoming the strongest sorcerer in the era, which made him the strongest sorcerer in history. At the end of his life, Sukuna would turn his 20 fingers into cursed objects to live eternally. The method to pull off this feat was told to him by Kenjaku. However, the motive to become fingers is still unknown to us. These fingers would go on to become powerful special grade cursed objects, and would later be used to ward off weaker cursed spirits, effectively protecting non-sorcerers. Many people would try to ingest the fingers over the next 1,000 years, but they would all die with the exception of one person. This era is also when Sarutsana Ashiya created the new shadow style and specifically Simple Domain. It was also in the Heian era that Kenjaku started forming his plans for the Culling Games, as there are at least two sorcerers that are 1,000 years old, those being Uro and Yozuru. It was also in this era that Michizane no Sugawara was born and died. We don't know exactly what his role in the world of Jujutsu was, but he is an ancient sorcerer of both Gojo and Yuta, so it's likely he had some relation to the big three clans of Jujutsu, but that's mostly speculation. Over the next 1,000 years, Kenjaku would go on to make binding vows with a wide variety of sorcerers for their reincarnation. He would almost die twice to two different six-eyed users, and as a result, he would make an effort to try to kill every six-eyed user as a baby to prevent them from growing up and becoming powerful. During the Meiji era, he would meet two important sorcerers. The first is Kashimo, who agreed to a binding vow after becoming the strongest sorcerer in his era. Kashimo proved his strength in his era, but his lust for battle had not faded, so he wanted to reincarnate in order to fight Sukuna to prove his strength once again. Around the same time, Ryu set the record for the largest cursed energy output in history, and Kenjaku would create a binding vow with him as well. Approximately 200 years later, Kenjaku would inhabit the body of Noritoshi Kamo, where he would create the Cursed Womb's Death's Paintings. Death's Paintings were 9 special grade cursed objects made from the 9 aborted fetuses of a woman who could give birth to human spirit hybrids. Noritoshi would gain the title of the most infamous sorcerer in history, but it is unclear if this was awarded before Kenjaku's acts or because of them. During this 1,000-year time period, the 3 big clans of Jujutsu sorcery were founded, and domains would evolve from non-lethal to lethal. It's also worth mentioning that at some point, Kenjaku became friends with Tengen. We don't know when this happened or exactly what this friendship looked like, but it is still important to mention. On March 30th, 2003, Kenjaku would give birth to Yuji Itadori using the body of Kaori Itadori. 5 years later, Tengen would need a plasma star vessel to prevent their evolution into a cursed spirit. They would request that second-year students Gojo and Geto protect the plasma star vessel, Riko Amanai. Riko was subject to assassination by the Star Religious Group and Q, the cursed user group. Q would be easily subdued by Gojo and Geto, and they would protect Riko from multiple independent assassins as well, but they would not be able to protect her from all assassins, as Toji Zenin would beat Gojo, kill Riko, and then beat Geto as well. Toji would give the body of Riko to the Star Religious Group and collect his reward before running into the newly awakened Gojo, who would beat him in a fight, ending his life. Gojo would then go retrieve Riko's body from the Star Religious Group, and Geto would follow shortly after. It is these events, the death of Haibara, and the treatment of Nanako and Mimiko that would change Geto's perspective on the world, convincing him that killing all non-sorcerers is the best course of action to save his friends. This would result in him killing an entire village of people and his own parents, before taking over the Star Religious Group and using them as a front to collect cursed spirits. Around the same time, Gojo adopts Megumi, preventing him from being sold to the Zenin clan. Approximately 1 decade later, in 2017, a cursed child is found. Yuta had been cursed by the love of his fallen girlfriend Rika Orimoto, and now he was being haunted by her cursed spirit. Rika had an immense amount of power to the point that Geto believed he would be able to beat Gojo if he controlled her. Yuta would be taken to the Tokyo Jujutsu High School to learn how to control cursed energy, in the hopes that it would help him control Rika. While in attendance, Geto would visit Yuta and announce the Night Parade of 100 Demons on December 24th, 2017. This event would have Geto release thousands of cursed spirits into Tokyo and Kyoto, and would require the undivided attention of the world of Jujutsu. While the parade was occurring, Geto would sneak into Jujutsu High School in an attempt to beat Yuta and absorb Rika. He would be unsuccessful in this attempt and would end up being killed by Gojo. However, Gojo would not properly dispose of his body, and as a result, Kenjaku would take over the body because he coveted the curse manipulation technique. technique. After the Cursed Child arc, 3 disaster curses would form an alliance in an attempt to shift the balance of the world and allow cursed spirits to take their rightful place on top. They would go out of their way to ally with Kenjaku, who is fully masquerading as Geto at this point. Kenjaku then set in motion a plan that would allow the cursed spirits to reign over humans, and it centered around sealing Gojo in the prison realm. It is also around this time that Sumiki is cursed by Kenjaku. In February 2018, Kenjaku meets with US officials and convinces them to send a battalion into the Culling Games once it begins. A few months later, Yuji Itadori is forced to join Jujutsu Society after ingesting one of Sukuna's fingers. He is the first person in history to live after doing so it is determined that he will consume all 20 fingers and then be executed in order to rid the world of Sukuna. He becomes one of 3 first years at the Tokyo school along with Megumi and Nobara, who hails from a small village in the countryside. On their first mission together, things go poorly and Yuji ends up dying after manifesting Sukuna. The duo then makes a binding vow which brings them back to life, but there's the condition. Upon saying in chains, Sukuna can change places with Yuji by force for 1 minute, and that Yuji forgets about this deal. Upon resurrection, Yuji is kept hidden to keep him safe from the higher-ups. At the same time, the rest of the Tokyo students prepare for the exchange event. While in hiding, Yuji gets a lot stronger and Gojo learns of the disaster curses after a fight with Gojo. On the day of the exchange event, Yuji is reintroduced to Tokyo, and after apologizing to Nobara and Megumi, he joins them against Kyoto. The event quickly goes off track as Hanami invades and a curtain is drawn. During this time, Mahito steals 3 deaths paintings and some of Sukuna's fingers from the high school. After Hanami is subdued, it is decided that the second phase of the event will be a baseball game, and shortly after, the deaths paintings are reincarnated, and the first years are sent in a mission where they end up recovering one of Sukuna's fingers. An unknown amount of time passes and it is uncovered that Kokichi Muda is a mole within Jujutsu High School. He entered a binding vow with Mahito where he would exchange information for the healing of his body. After the deal is completed, the duo fight and it ends in Muda's death. October 31st, 2018. The Shibuya incident takes place, in which multiple grade 1 sorcerers and students are killed. Gojo Satoru is sealed in the prison realm and the disaster curses are wiped out. Sukuna also manifested, resulting in the destruction of 140 square meters of Tokyo and the deaths of countless non-sorcerers. The sealing of Gojo allowed Kenjaku to begin the Culling Games by using Mahito's curse technique to reactivate the incarnated sorcerers. As a result of the incident, 5 notices were issued from the Jujutsu headquarters. The first is that Suguru Geto's survival has been confirmed and he has once again been sentenced to death. The second is that Satoru Gojo has been deemed an accomplice in the Shibuya incident and has been exiled from the world of Jujutsu. In addition, removing the seal of the prison realm is considered a criminal act. Third, Masamichi Yaga, the principal of Jujutsu Tech Tokyo, received the death penalty for inciting the Shibuya incident. Fourth, the suspension of Yuji's execution has been revoked and his execution is to be carried out immediately. Fifth, Yuta Akatsu has been appointed as Yuji Itadori's executioner. Additionally, in the wake of Nobito Zenin's death, Megumi is named the new head of the Zenin clan. Yuji's execution is carried out before he's brought back to life. Before him, Chozo and Yuta meet up with Megumi. The Culling Games are then explained, as well as Megumi's need to enter the games to save his sister. November 9th, 2018. Yuki and Maki meet up with the others to meet with Tengen. They are not aware of Tengen's ties to Kenjaku. Upon meeting, it is explained that the cast can free Gojo from the prison realm by finding the Culling Games player named Angel, who has a technique that can cancel out other cursed techniques. Tengen then asks 2 sorcerers to stay behind to protect them from Kenjaku, and it's decided that Chozo and Yuki will stay behind. Shortly after, they split up to prepare for the games, and Maki heads to the Zenin estate. November 10th, 2018. After the death of Mai, Maki awakens and slaughters the sorcerers of the Zenin clan. She accidentally lets Noya live, but he is killed by her mother. November 11th, 2018. Megumi, Yuji, and Panda infiltrate Hakari's fight club and convince him to help them with the Culling Games. Kirara will stay outside the barrier to try and track down Angel. On November 12th at 11:28 a.m., Yuta enters the Sendai colony. He has a fierce battle with Ryo, Uro, and Kurouchi. After a full manifestation of Rika and a 3-way domain clash, Yuta comes out victorious, but he does not kill the other sorcerers. At 12 p.m., Megumi, Yuji, Panda, and Hakari enter the Culling Games. Yuji faces down Higuruma and wins after appealing to emotion without killing him. Megumi infiltrates Reggie's group and after an intense battle comes out victorious with Reggie dead. Reggie insinuates that the information from Tengen might not be true. After the battle, Megumi passes out and Angel just happens to stumble upon his body. At 12:11 p.m., Hakari engages with Charles. It is a one-sided battle that is decided once Hakari gets a jackpot. At the same time, Panda engages with Kashimo. It is also extremely one-sided. Hakari steps in and after an absolute slugfest, he emerges victorious. November 14th, 3:05 p.m. Maki enters the Sakurajima colony. She meets the modern-day Noritoshi Kamo and engages with Cursed Noya. It is a losing battle until Katana and Sumo show up. Sumo and Maki throw 10,000 bouts of Sumo, further enlightening Maki. Shortly after, Noya is once again defeated by Maki Zenin. On the same day, Megumi wakes up in a hotel room with Yuji, Angel, and Takeba. They've gathered the points needed to free Sumiki and discuss with Angel the conditions to unseal Gojo. She requires they kill Sukuna first. As they are discussing, discussing, the US troops commissioned by Kenjaku enter the Culling Games. On November 16th at midnight, Kenjaku enters the Hall of the Star Corridor. He explains to Chozo that he wants to merge all the souls of Japan to create a giant cursed spirit. He then engages in combat with Yuki and Chozo and emerges victorious, but Chozo escapes with the back of the prison realm. Kenjaku then absorbs Tengen. At noon on the same day, a new rule is added to the Culling Games by Megumi. It allows a player to leave the Culling Games by expending 100 points and inviting a new player to take their place. At 3 p.m, Sumiki enters Tokyo Colony 1. A new rule is added by her, allowing the entry and exit across colony borders. Yozuru reveals herself and demands to fight Sukuna before departing for Sendai. Sukuna activates Enchain, knocks out Angel, and takes over Megumi's body. After a quick fight with Maki and Yuji, he departs with Uraume on Nue. Uraume then prepares the bath for Sukuna, who takes the bath and departs for Sendai, where he defeats Ryu and Yozuru. On November 18th at 9:09 p.m, Kenjaku adds a new rule prohibiting new players from entering the Culling Games. He adds an additional rule that the games will end when all players except Suguru Geto, himself, and Megumi Fushiguro, Sukuna, are dead. November 19th, 2018, Gojo Satoru is unsealed. Over the next month, various events take place, but we currently have no context or information on them. December 24th, 2018, the battle for the strongest begins. During this fight, both Sukuna and Gojo lose their abilities to use their domains. It is unclear if this is a permanent effect or temporary. Sukuna also loses the ability to use Nue, Great Serpent, Tiger Funeral, and Round Deer by losing Ajito, and Mahoraga is destroyed as well. At this point in time, it appears that Gojo Satoru is the winner of the fight. And that's the timeline. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe. It really helps the channel out and I would greatly appreciate it. If you're already subscribed, maybe check out another video or use a membership, but no pressure on that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for another video.